like to welcome you to this year course on how to successfully address the PPI requirement for the SNSF IICT 2026 application. It's a pleasure to host you and to have different also people participating in guiding you through this successfully address the PPI requirements. We will start with a short introduction on PPI given by the CTO and by me, and then getting more into practice with Cindy Allerenbach and Miriam Meon from the CHUV in Lausanne, having a short break, then having useful information for applicants. This will be given by Caroline Krüger and Larissa Aragon from the SNSF, and then also practical insights from Sandra Kohlmeier from the DKF in Basel. I would like to ask you to, you can interact with us, but mainly at the end of each presentation, and there will be also a Q&A session at the very end of the session. Some very practical information before we really deep dive into the topic. We can kindly ask you to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to avoid any useless background noise. We have a dedicated Q&A session where questions will be addressed at the end of each presentation, as I just said. You can also write your question in the chat or raise your hand via Zoom. Both possibilities you can do. This course, we would like to tell you that this course is recording. The recording will be published on our website after the course. We will exclude the Q&A session for a question of data privacy. There will be question, and the Q&A session will be in the form of a written document that is anonymized. So feel free to turn off your camera during the presentations. This is on you to decide. I started with the agenda already, so this you already know. So we will just quickly tell you the objectives of today's session is to understand the PPI concept, to be able to translate the PPI principle to your study and project, to create a plan for your PPI, to recognize the value of clinical research centers as a partner in your application, and how to apply the PPI requirements. Before we dive into the topic of patient and public involvement, for those who do not know, the Swiss Clinical Trial Association, organization, sorry, I will take a few minutes to present our organization. So we are an academic clinical research infrastructure of national importance. Our network provides the services to plan, conduct, and analyze high-quality clinical research projects. We are spread throughout the entire Switzerland. Member of our organization are the 5 university hospitals, namely Geneva, Lausanne, Bern, Basel, and Zurich, and 2 cantonal hospitals, St. Gallen and Lugano. We are pathology unspecific, so we really are active in all therapeutic fields. We support all types of clinical research projects, whether it's clinical trials and data-driven, interventional, or observational clinical research projects. Everything is supported by our clinical research centers. And each clinical research centers coordinate one of the so-called SCTO platforms, which are pool of experts. This pool of experts focus on key area of clinical research, namely auditing, data management, education, monitoring, project management, regulatory affairs, safety. What our pool of experts do, they have and they are still doing a lot of providing resources. So whether it's trainings, documents, publication guidelines, tools, And everything is available on our website, all the outcome of our platform that can be helpful to plan and conduct as well your clinical study. We also have launched a course finder where you can find the courses that are given and that are relevant for the clinical research community and that are given in different languages at different places or online by our member of our organization, all the clinical research center. This was about the CTO. So now let me dive into the PPI topic, which is the topic of today. What is PPI? The definition of the UK Health Research Authority, so the NHS, is that PPI is research carrying out with or by patients and member of the public rather than to, about, and for them. There are still currently no internationally harmonized definition yet, as well in Switzerland, but this is the definition that we as the SCTO have decided to endorse. What is PPI? So when we discuss about or when we mention involvement is definitively different than participation. Involvement is patient and members of the public that are actively involved, engaged in clinical research project as partners. This is a difference than participating in a study or in a research project. These are patient and members of the public that take part in the trial, usually by providing data samples. And what is the definition of patient? We also hear reference to the definition of EUPATI. The public in general, it's individual patient. It could be also patient organization representative. It can be caregivers, patient advocates, and patient experts. All this we usually refer in our documents as PPI contributors. Why should PPI be integrated into research? Today's research is tomorrow's medicine and therapies. So patients are directly affected by the outcome of a clinical research. Therefore, they should have a say and an influence on it. And I think this can be summarized by the small sentence, nothing about us without us. Patient empowerment. When you integrate patient PPI, PPI supports the empowerment of patient and address their right to have a voice in the research on how it's conducted. And it increases the capacity of the patient to act on issues that they themselves define as important. It will also increase the accountability. It has a potential to democratize the research process and make clinical research more accountable. And it's also very important, the PPI aspect, for transparency. Academic clinical research is financed by governmental public funds, and especially here in the case of SNSF IICT. And PPI can help make the funding more transparent by also being able to make the public understand what the research is. Relevance. PPI patient contributors will also help you identify research questions that matter most for the patient and the public. And they also help prioritize the research agenda. There is also a big influence on recruitment and retention. It helps connect with the appropriate patient community. They can also advise on feasibility of the study process. And again, relation transparency, if you have PPI contributors, it will help you disseminate study results to a wider public. So when you integrate PPI in your project, the research is more likely to be designed and conducted in a way which is acceptable to the patient and involving the right of the patient well can help to produce research with respect to the rights, safety, dignity, and well-being of participants. A bit bottleneck in when you're looking for PPI contributors is actually to find them. Our current recommendation is first to align internally with your research team, identify and contact the relevant patient organization. They can be really useful in helping you finding out the PPI contributors. Post a call for interest in your institution. Contact your local clinical research centers because they are also in contact with PPI contributors. You can also contact us and ask for support. We put here our email address for PPI. To be able to involve them, it's also very important to develop information material that clearly explains your research project in a lay language for your contributors to understand what all your research is about, to describe the role that you're expecting, specify the knowledge, experience, skills your PPI contributors should bring, and provides information about the amount of work, time that is required, as well as their remuneration. This is a very important point not to neglect. The next slide is about the possibilities for PPI. This is something that is available on our website already, and I do not want to put a lot of emphasis on this because it will be discussed also by the people that come after me, and I think they will explain it even better than the CTO. But this is just a summary of where to include the patient contributors, PPI contributors. So I will kind of in purpose ignore it. Sorry. We have this infographic is just one of the different resources that the SCTO has developed over the time. Everything is available that has been developed is currently available on our website. So you have resources that are really for clinical researchers, but we also have some resources that are available for the PPI contributors that can be useful for you to share also with your contributors. For example, we have developed fact sheets that summarize the overall concept of PPI, the benefit, the challenges, how it can be incorporated, implemented in your trial, and then a short guide for researcher to address PPI in trials. This is really with the objective to support researcher to identify PPI opportunity. And the other resources we have SCTO remuneration policies, so that there is a fair financial compensation, and this remuneration policy and guidelines or recommendations are based on a blended model approach based on two criteria: the level of involvement of your contributor, of course, and the skills capacity needed for your activity. So this is summarized here. So we have defined 4 level of involvement, whether it's information, advice, joint decision-making, or leadership. And we have also here, this is non-exhaustive, the skills and competency that you might need. For example, if you need medical expertise, system expertise, methodological expertise, personal framework, and depending on both this level, the amount of the remuneration will increase. I, in purpose, do not articulate any number here. We will publish this soon on our website as well, but it's always only recommendation. It's we cannot. It's non-binding from our side, but it's really recommendations that you, the way you can, it can guide you into the remuneration of your PPI contributors. one last thing. Yeah, no, I will stop here. I don't know if there is any question. I do not want to take time from from the other presenters. So I suggest that if there is no urgent question, we move on with the next presentation.
Hello, everybody. So this presentation will be shared with Marie Méan. So let us quickly introduce ourselves. So Marie, maybe I give you the hand.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Hello, everybody. I'm a physician from background, working in Lausanne University Hospital, and also the director of Lucid National Data Stream. And this is what I will present you as an example of PPI practice.
And I am Cindy Allenbach. I'm the head of the research consent unit of the Clinical Research Center at CHUV, and also investigators advisor, especially for the PPI aspect. So first of all, we would like to start with a question. According to you, when could PPI contributors be involved in a clinical study? And you can check all possible choices in the preparatory phase, during the study, or after the study.
The results. So mostly in the preparatory phase, during the study, after the study.
Okay.
Right?
Perfect. So the answer is here. In the Helsinki Declaration, you can see that it states that meaningful engagement with potential and enrolled participants and their communities should occur before, during, and following medical research. So indeed, PPI contributors can make really valuable contributions at every stage of research, and that's what we are going to show you in this presentation. I won't repeat what was just said, but just to tell you a few examples. For example, if you include them to identify a research question, they can help you to really fix research priorities that are aligned with those of patients and citizens. If they are involved in the design of the research project, you will ensure that the research outcomes and design are relevant for patients. In the research conduct, they can give you another perspective, which is based on their experience. For the results dissemination, they can help you to communicate with the public in an accessible and clear way. For the implementation, they can ensure that the research leads to action. And last but not least, in the evaluating phase of these PPI procedures, they can help you optimize the PPI practices for future projects. So you can see here the graph, which I discovered just before that was recently changed by the SCTO. This was the previous graph, where you can see all the phases and some examples about how they could be included. I just would like to keep you in mind that you can be really creative, and those are only few examples, but you can imagine whatever you would like to get them involved and make your project be optimized. So in the preparatory phase, you can include them in the identification of research questions and in the study design and writing of the funding application. So they can really give you their inputs and share their perspectives. And for this, we recommend to include them in individual interviews, focus groups, working groups to discuss those topics. Surveys could also be a solution. In this first phase, they could also be involved in writing or reviewing the lay summary for the general public to make it clear and accessible for everyone. And those aspects, you will have to clarify them and explain them in the letter of intent that you are going to write in this patient and engagement plan, where you will also have to describe the budget that you would like to have for these different tasks, knowing that the SNF could give you up to 5,000 francs for this PPI phase. I won't go into any other detail about this patient engagement plan, because you are going to hear about it in the next presentation. For the phase that is during the trial, you can include patients to help you conduct your study, and also for the data analysis phase. So concretely, they can help you review the documents that are dedicated to patients, for example, patient information and consent documents. They can become members of an advisory board that will follow the study throughout the study. And also some members of the advisory board may become also members of the steering committee. They can support communication with study participants and the general public, and provide inputs on data analysis and highlight the results that are relevant for the public. For the after trial phase, they can help you disseminate and implement the result of the study. And also they are very important to help you evaluate the PPI procedures that were set up during your study. So with them, you can optimize the summary of your study results in lay language. They can help you support study results communication to participants and the public. They can be involved in the article writing, and they can give you feedbacks about PPI actions and impacts. Again, those different elements will have to be described in the patient and public involvement in the proposal. Again, you will hear more about this in the next presentation. So knowing that, you will have to think about who you would like to engage, how and when. And for this, you will have to keep in mind those different steps in your study, and you will have to think about how you would like to include your PPI contributors, meaning what kind of level of engagement you are going to request. Is it an information level? So they are here to provide information about their disease or the treatment they have in order to highlight some specific topic for your study. Would you like to have them as advisors? They give advices on specific questions about your study, your protocol. Are they going to contribute at the decision-making level, or are they going to contribute to lead specific parts of your project? So those level of engagement and the when they are going to be included really depends on the research team resources you have, the research team experience, and the available time you have, because you are going to fix your objective taking those different points into account. And also the number and profile and expertise of your PPI contributors will also depend on this reflection about the how and when. Some important aspect to take into account when thinking about the recruitment. If you are going to lead a multicentric study, which is very often the case in those IICT calls, you may think about including PPI contributors from the different regions. And also it's very important to think about including very different profiles and expertises, knowing that it's not possible to reach representativity and it's not the objective. However, the diversity makes the insights richer and more relevant for your study. So once you are clear with all these aspects, you are going to define precisely for each contributor the role and missions, the necessary expertise, the period of involvement and the frequency of requests, and the remuneration modalities. And those you are going to fix on a document for PPI recruitment, so that PPI contributors will know how they are going to be involved, and also to formalize the collaboration through a written agreement. And for this, you have models on the SCTO website. You can have the link here on the presentation. Marie, I give you the voice.
Yes, thank you. I think I was in your seat 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and everything was really well presented by Cindy and also before. But in your seat 5 years ago, I couldn't really understand what was PPI at a glance. So we decided to present some practical example, maybe just to associate some solution to the theory on why do we use Lucid as an example or a project. This project is a national initiative sponsored by Swiss Personal Health Network. It was also mandatory to have a PPI strategy as for the IICT call. So therefore, I will try to share some lessons I have learned. And here it's the web page we still have actually. And you can see that we have patient partners mentioned on the website. It's important not to just mention them and to make this. It's a word I had also to learn on the way. It's the tokenism, to say we do PPI just to enter in the requirements. Here, this person are really people I met during the 3 or 4 years, and I learned to work together with them, and not only just to ask them to be there. They really contribute to the project, and this is what I will show you in the next slide. I think if I should leave you with one impression of the study, is as Cindy said, you have several possibility to explore how PPI can, or patient partners can help you. First, I would just say patient partners are not normal patients. They have a training. And this is something I have written here in the fourth bullet point. Ideally, you should find patients that have already an idea of what is research. Otherwise, it will be difficult to discuss about your study question or to discuss about the methods if they have no idea. So there is, for the French-speaking part of Switzerland, the FORCE training, which is free and quite easy to follow in 1-2 hours, depending on the level of education of your patient. And then they would at least have a base for the discussion. And then in Lucid, we try to have a small sample of patient contributors at the pre-funding phase. For that, we use the organization already in place in Geneva. It was partner, REC. And ideally, you should have male and female, but actually in Geneva, we had only female, and we were quite criticized for this. Different age, ideally. Similarly, we had also more 50, female of 50 age old, all French speaking. So it's not always ideal, but this is what we got. So ideally, you should also have a different part of Switzerland speaking different language and train partners. And what they help us to do in Lucid for the pre-funding phase, it was just really important to discuss what we wanted to have as a research question, which was in Lucid to study the low-value care in medical hospitalized patient. It was really great to have this discussion, because as a researcher, then you have the feeling whether your project makes sense and is sounding relevant for patients. So this is the first step. And the second was to, as Cindy said, to write together the lay summary. I tried first to write myself a lay summary and to ask for review, but it's not working like this. It's better to write together this summary. And I had in the patient partner, by chance, a native English speaker patient partner. So she was able to write down the lay summary. And it was really very, very instructive. I will show you there just after. We co-created a questionnaire in the field of low-value care using interviews. And finally, we also included as a board member one patient partner. This is something you can write in the proposal. In the executive board, we had for each meeting a patient partner present. Next slide. This is from the NIH. It's maybe just for to help you to maybe define some question. The first two lines, identify clinical or related problem or establish the research question, is helping you maybe to have the good question about your project. And then there are several questions you can also take from here to discuss about the research design. It's just to have some ideas how to speak together with patient partners. If I would leave you with one single message from this presentation, I think the most important thing I learned is this lay summary topic. Actually, I think we should all learn on still there is some work to do. This is again the web page from the Swiss Personalized Health Network. And we still have the executive summary in a very high educated English on top. And then in little, maybe here you can find the lay summary in English, but also in German and French. And here you can find here the good lay summary guidelines. It's a very tough and long document, but it could be useful to know, or maybe to reference something if you need, if you want to say that your lay summary is following guidelines. Next slide. Because one important thing from lay summary I learned is that the reading age is really important. And I think what we normally see as lay summary have a too high reading age. And we had to drop the reading age of our lay summary using this native English speaker. And this is an example. I leave you read some of the sentences, which are really easy and easy to read, easy to understand. On reading age 14 age old means that somebody has already maybe 6 or 8 years of school. In most of the countries, it's already good. So I think it's a goal not to be above this reading age of 14. How? And this is how can we judge of this reading age? It's subjective. And maybe the best thing is to ask the patient partners, do you understand what you read? Some patient partners are also quite well educated. In Switzerland, maybe we do have another education system compared to other countries. So there is another possibility. You can use this readability test. It's only for English. I think it's better to use it only for English text, because all these methods to grade the readability are validated for English and maybe not other languages. And it gives you a summary of the result of the readability of your text. And this is something you can also attach to your proposal as a reference, just to mention that the ideal score should be between 6 and 7. And this is what you have maybe succeed to do if your lay summary is well written. In the pre-funding phase, you can also imagine when you recruit some patient partner to discuss with, to ask them if they would agree to follow you if you are funded in the composition of a panel. And the panel can follow you for the whole project. And in Lucid, we created a patient and public research panel. We had in an average 8 members. You know how it is. During 3 years, it's going up and down. You have people leaving, you have people coming in. And we try to maintain the gender equity for women, for men. It was not always possible. And we also try to have French and German speakers. This is maybe an important point in Switzerland, and it's not the most easy one. We try to say everybody can speak in the language he's the best at speaking, but most of the time we finish to speak in English. But you shall know that for some kind of research or for some type of disease, sometimes it could also exclude patient if you just leave all the documents, emails on the meetings in English. So how we recruited the panel members. In our study, it was about low-value care in hospitalized patients. We asked them to have an experience of a chronic disease or an experience of a hospitalization in medical acute care, so they could know about the research project. They have some medical experience, and the recruitment channels are what we found most useful was social media, patient public association. But finally, what is the best recommendation I would give is patient members themselves. They are really good at finding colleagues, if I may say. I think now Cindy will speak about reporting, and then I will give you another example on
Exactly. Just one slide to tell you how PPI reporting is important and essential. It's at the end of your project, it will be important to try to highlight what was going well, the obstacles you met, the issues, in order to, get improvement for the next studies and optimize things for the future. And so this reporting, you have to do it via PPI contributors, but also researchers. You have to get their inputs and perspectives. So they have to communicate the impact of PPI in research, identify the best practices, improve to orientate future investigators and improve the quality and consistency of PPI actions in the future. And to help you in this task, you can look at the template that is available on the SCTO website, where you can see different questions that both PPI contributors and researchers can mark and help you in this PPI reporting. And you can also have a look, if you're interested in, to the GRIP GRIP article, which is about guidance for reporting involvement of patient and public.
It's maybe a bit far from what Cindy presented, but in the PPI, there is patient, but also public involvement. And it's not so easy to have some feedback from the public. So I just wanted to share an idea. When you have a nice project starting, here it was in the SHUV, you can put this next slide. You maybe have some media coverage of your project. Here it was in the 20 minutes at the start of the project. And a lot of people will know about the project. On here, with this very small articles in 20 minutes, we had 89 people commenting on this small media release. And go to the next slide. And this is something maybe you could also report, because it's not a lot of work. And in the PPI report, at the end of the project, is always important to collect during the time of the study all the material you can. And I think for us it was quite useful. We did, you can put the next slide, also a qualitative analysis using a thematic analysis of what patients said, public said in the comments. So this is just a cloud of the most frequently used words. And it was about low-value care, so it's quite clear that price and drugs are quite often used in the comments.
That's it for you?
Yeah, I think it's just
okay.
an example. We could speak a lot of for other. I have also example. I think if there is question, you can email me. But now, for question of time, I think you have the you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So I won't go into details about remuneration because Sabine already told you a bit about this. But just to leave you in your head that PPI contributors have the right to be compensated for their expertise and work time. So we recommend that you propose a remuneration, but they have the right to decline. this compensation, and it doesn't mean anything about their work, which is still very precious, also if they do not want to be remunerated. You should also reimburse travel costs. And for this, you have this SCTO remuneration policy, which is available on the SCTO website. It doesn't work. Or is my here? No, yeah. And just to finish, what you have to keep in mind when putting PPI into practice, first of all, we talk about partnership. It's not just tokenism, just checking a box. So if you involve PPI contributors, you have to involve them early, not when all decisions are taken. You have to give them the possibility to have a real influence on priorities, design, interpretation, and so on, and really recognize their lived experience as an expertise. Throughout the whole process, it's very important to be very clear about their implication, tasks, and how they can influence the study. You can really make a difference when you support them throughout the process and you offer them a training to give them some expertise about PPI and research. And communication should be accessible and ongoing throughout the study to keep them involved and informed. So just some take-home messages. PPI takes time if you wouldn't like to, if it's not tokenism, I mean. So anticipate, because you will have to fit in those 4 months that you will have for those IICT calls. So start PPI recruitment very early. Do not set unachievable objectives. So plan your actions according to your available resources and competences in your research team. Involve other persons or structures such as CRC or CTUs to help you really setting up those PPI actions. And last but not least, fully involve PPI contributors and take their opinions into account. And you will really see a difference.
There is a question from Azu. I missed how vulnerable groups, particularly pediatric patients, are integrated into PPI. I cannot read it. And whether their input is gathered directly or via their guardians. Maybe Cindy, you see the question?
No, I will try to get it.
Yeah, it's how you would involve the pediatric patient contributors.
Yeah, okay. Indeed, it's a very good question, and we have a lot to do for adults and even more with children for PPI actions, I mean. But definitely they can be involved, usually with their parents. It depends on their age. If they are adolescents, they can be involved alone. However, if they are not adolescents yet, you have to include their parents. And for the remuneration aspects, parents have to be remunerated, and adolescents could also be via gifts or well, this you have to decide, but definitely you can involve them.
We have another interesting question. I can take this one because it's a question of patient partner. Could they also be health professional at large? Because it's a question of physiotherapist, and I think the question could be at large, because in the PPI representatives we had a lot of people already, nurse or physician, and it's a bit biased, I think, to take their opinion as patient partner. It's not impossible, because for sure they also have an experience, but I would not rely only on the PPI representative being also health professional, because they have it's biased on in Lucid we had finally to exclude one or two, to say it was maybe not the best fit, because finally it was not their experience. They were also sharing a lot of their vision of the healthcare system with another hat on their head. So it depends from patient to patient or individual to individual, but not to rely only on colleagues as PPI representative, except if the question is on the research participants or the research question is on health professionals.
Thank you. Welcome back. I hope everyone had just the time to grab a coffee or so, and we will continue this seminar with this time the Swiss National Foundation, here represented by Caroline Krüger and Larissa Aragon, who will give you more insight into the IICT code program and the PPI perspective.
Perfect. Thank you, Sabine. Yes, me and Larissa, we are jointly presenting today, and I will more focus on the IICT program and the SNSF and how we implemented PPI in the last years. And Larissa will give you more insights on how PPI is evaluated in the IICT program. So this is just a quick overview of the content of today's presentation. So the PPI initiative at the SNSF and in the IICT program, then the evaluation of PPI in the IICT program, and some practical recommendations for researchers. The SNSF launched the IICT program for the first time in 2015. 3 years later, 2018, patient involvement was added as an evaluation criterion in the IICT program. And another 2 years later, PPI representatives became an integral part of the evaluation panel of the IICT calls and are since then evaluating together with the clinical and statistical or methodological experts in the IICT call. In 2022, the PPI preparatory grant was added to the IICT call, which you heard already before, and which I will give you some more details on the next slide. Since last year, so the call 2024, the PPI experts are also involved during the peer review process in the IICT call. The PPI preparatory grant is a preparatory grant for patient engagement during the development of an application. So before you submit the full proposal in IICT, for example, and you can get awarded up to 5,000 francs for this preparatory phase. The duration of the PPI preparatory grant is maximum 4 months between July and October of this year, 2026, if you envisage to apply for the IICT call. And the PPI preparatory grant needs to be submitted together with the letter of intent, but it's 2 different separate applications on our platform, and the deadline for the letter of intent and the PPI preparatory grant for the call 2026 is May 26th. On the right-hand side, you can see an overview graph of the letters of intent and the PPI preparatory grant applications that we have received in the last 4 years since the PPI preparatory grant has been installed. And you can see that both of them increased over the past years, more or less. Also the PPI preparatory grants a little bit, but they remained more stable than the increase that we see in the letter of intent. The IICT program, the overview of the call. First, as I said, you have to submit a letter of intent or PPI preparatory grant by May 26th. And after the submission of these, you will get feedback on formal eligibility from the SNSF offices. And during the following 4-month period until submission of the full proposal on 3rd of November, you can use the money that you got awarded in the PPI preparatory grant for preparation works of your full proposal. After submission of the full proposal, these proposals will be reviewed by international experts. So we will have clinical, medical, and methodological, statistical experts, as well as PPI experts that will review your application. In March, the rebuttal phase takes place. It is 2 weeks where you receive all the reviews that we got on your project, and where you can take position on these reviews and resolve some questions that might have come up or some misunderstandings. After the rebuttal phase, all documents will be evaluated by the IICT evaluation panel, which is consisting of clinical and medical experts, methodological experts, as well as the PPI experts, and the decision usually is communicated in June. And then your grant will last for up to 5 years, with scientific reports that have to be sent to the SNSF every 6 months and financial reports every 12 months. The IICT panel, as I already said, is composed of clinicians, PPI representatives, and statisticians or methodological experts. And every one of these experts has an equal voice. So the PPI representatives count equally as the medical persons or the statistical experts on the panel. We have 4 evaluation criteria in IICT, which concern clinical relevance, originality, scientific value, and topicality of the study, the suitability of the methodological approach, patient and public involvement, and the applicant's track record and the expertise in relation to the project. So now I will hand over to Larissa, who will give you further insights in the PPI approach of the SNSF.
Yeah. Thank you, Caroline. And welcome back, everyone. As we move into this second half of our presentation or training, I would like to talk about how we can build deeply meaningful partnerships with patients. So maybe just a short introduction. My name is Larissa, and I'm a PPI expert with lived experience in cancer space, and very happy to be part of the SNSF evaluation panel since the very beginning. Our goal in the SNF is to help you move really beyond, the surface level involvement. We also heard about tokenism, and we would like to share with you how we can together move towards a more collaborative relationship that truly elevates your research. So we know that when we give a genuine voice, the science simply gets better. So today I would like to walk you through how our evaluation panel thoughtfully looks at your PPI strategy from the moment you start with your idea through the end of your trial, and I'll share some practical, hopefully encouraging tips on how to wave an authentic patient collaboration into fabric your work. So in this slide that you're seeing here, it's maybe let's quickly, as an introduction, let's take a moment to look on the screen. It's really a light-hearted drawing, but I think it touches on a very real challenge in clinical research. So the clinician is so intensely focused on the complex data and monitors that when asked to focus on the patient, their response is typically the why, what now, and why now. So the caption at the bottom asks what matters. And I believe this perfectly captures the heart of patient and public involvement. It is so easy to get caught up in this brilliant science, but I think we must remember that the human being at the center is exactly why one of our first evaluation criteria is the life summary. And I think Marie was mentioning it as well. So we want to ensure that someone completely unfamiliar with your clinical research can read it and truly understand the aim of your study. So it's really about bridging that gap. And in the next slide, we talk about what we evaluate before submission. So to ensure that patient is in focus from the beginning, our panel carefully looks at how you involve them before you even submit your proposal, right? So there is this preparatory grant that Carolina mentioned. So first we look at the consultation. Did you warmly invite patient representatives to the table to help you define your research questions, endpoints, recruitment strategy before they were finalized? Then next we look at we look for impact. So we don't just want a list of meetings you held. We want the story of how your patients' valuable or patient experts' valuable input actually influence and shape your design of the proposed study. So we really look for evidence of patient participation that really goes far beyond just a simple statement of intent or a letter of intent. So we really want to see, the footprint of their lived experience on your application. And this is why sometimes having health professionals as PPI experts, it's a bit of almost like a conflict of interest in a way. So look for lived experiences. I'm not saying it could not happen, right? That health professional has a lived experience on exactly what you're looking for. In the next slide, we look at what we evaluate, right, during the trial. So once your clinical trial is underway, our panel wants to see how you care for and collaborate with your patient partners. So we actually gently evaluate the feasibility of the trial from the participant's perspective to ensure that the burden of questionnaires, tests, or time required isn't too overwhelming. So we also look at how you support them and their roles and expectations are clearly defined and if training is provided. This is something that in the research proposals is sometimes forgotten. And furthermore, we want to ensure that patients are fairly compensated for sharing their valuable lived experiences. So having a clear reimbursement strategy is a great way to show you respect our time. And finally, we check that any sensitive data protection issues specific to your patient group have been openly discussed with them. And I think now in times of AI and algorithms, it makes it even more important to be transparent with this regard, the data set and how you plan to use the patient medical data to train your algorithms. In the next slide, it's about after. So a beautiful partnership shouldn't just end when the trial does. So after the study concludes, we evaluate how you plan to communicate the progress and results back to the patients and the community in a timely, accessible, and active manner. So we also look for dissemination strategies that share your findings. We welcome very much when patient partners are co-authors of your publications and also to spread your findings in the wider community with healthcare providers, health insurance. This is also very welcome. Importantly, we love to see a thoughtful plan on how you intend to evaluate the PPI process itself and its overall impact during and after your study. In the next slide, I'm going to just share quickly a couple of my own experience. So there are wonderful ways to make your PPI activities even more inclusive. I think this is just a summary of what I said. If we move to the next slide, please, Caroline, so I don't have to repeat myself. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I personally highly encourage you to embrace the cultural competence, right? Ensuring that your activities are sensitive and welcoming to patients from all backgrounds. I think it's incredibly empowering to allow patients to help lead their research agenda and have a say in setting priorities. So I've had some very good examples where really patient partners are on the driving seat of work packages. I think this has been mentioned also before. So providing them with ongoing education as well as clear feedback mechanism, I think it helps everyone to see exactly how their meaningful contributions are shaping your research. To make involvement as welcoming as possible, I think you can also think about offering flexible participation options. And remember to integrate real patient stories to give your research a true human element. And when it comes to building your team, find the right PPI expert is key. And I think we also touch upon today's training. So really look for someone with relevant expertise and successful track record in patient engagement, ideally within your specific research area or patient population. I think you really want to find an expert who has wonderful communication skills so they can work seamlessly with both your researchers and the patients. Yeah, if I could offer one key piece of practical advice, it will be to invite patient representatives and relevant organizations to join you right from the very beginning of your proposal development. But of course, you have heard it before, and you can use excellent supporting materials from the SCTO to help design the trial and the endpoints. I think in the next slide, Caroline. Yeah. Choosing the right PPI, I think I mentioned it before. There are already addresses that could help you with this, right? You have your clinical trial units. There are patient advisory boards at almost every university hospital. I'm part of the Inselspital in Bern, UPATI, and maybe my very last piece of advice, look beyond patient representation associations. So there are wonderful civil associations, think about Prosenectude if your target audience are elderly people. So there are many other organizations where you can find also your patient group that you're looking for, not only patient organizations. I hope it was partially useful. Please feel free to reach out to Caroline if you have any questions or you are looking for PPIs. Maybe we also have an idea where you could search. Thank you very much.
Yes, so I just have two more small slides for the end, for the wrap up of our part of the talk. As Larissa already mentioned, in general, we encourage you to involve the patient representatives or relevant organizations in the development of your proposal from the beginning, meaning before or at the beginning when you draft your research questions, for example. During the application preparation, develop the application together with the patient representatives and integrate their knowledge, for example, in the research question, the design of the trial, or relevant endpoints for patients. As Larissa already or the Cindy and Marie already mentioned, there is a lot of supporting material on the SCTO website. Have a look at it. It's can be very helpful in different regards. During the application process, demonstrate us and the PPI experts in the panel what the feedback of the patient representative was and how it was incorporated into your study design, because this is the impact that the PPI involvement has been on your study. And provide clear evidence that the patient representatives commit to participate during the lifetime of your study, including their role and also compensation strategies that we have touched upon before as well. Last two little pieces of advice. So the SNSF highly recommends considering patient-reported outcome measures, that you integrate these into your study protocols as endpoints, for example. And the James Lind Alliance brings together patients, carers, clinical and clinician groups to identify knowledge gaps that are still there, and have a look at these priority setting partnerships via the link that is in the presentation. I think the presentations will be shared as well, so feel free to check that out later. With that, me and Larissa are open for questions. If you have questions later, you can always reach me via iict@snf.ch. There are no stupid questions. Always come to ask us whenever they come up during the process of your application draft or submission.
Thank you, Caroline and Larissa. This was very important information and insights. We have a question in the chat. What if you can't find the perfect PPI contributors? For example, not the right disease experience. How does the SNSF handle this? This was a question.
So from our side, we do not require the perfect PPI representative. It is up to you to define or to find people and to involve them during the protocol preparation. I think there are also other fits than perfect. I think it is important that that patients are involved. I mean, maybe Larissa, you as a patient with live experience and the PPI expert in our panel, maybe you can also have a word on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Catherine. I think it's very important because we talked a lot about lived experience, but when we talk about patient and public involvement, I see like different profiles, right? So of maybe according to your research, you are looking exactly for someone ideally with disease experience, but it's not the only way you can prove that you truly include patients and the public into your research. So there are more and more in Switzerland patients and people in general being educated and trained on the R&D or the life cycle of medicines with Upati. So if you cannot find someone with that right disease experience, look for someone that has been educated in PPI so that this person can guide you through the PPI focus of your research, even if you could not find at this point in time this disease experience you're looking for. So sometimes even if you can become a PPI expert even if you don't have a lived experience, right? So it depends on the concept. That's what I wanted to say. It's not a must. We don't look for, oh, is this PPI expert? Does he or she have a lived experience? And if it's not the case, then it's not a good research proposal from the PPI perspective. That's not how we look at it.
Sorry, thank you, Larissa. Thank very important information as well. We got also some information in the chat about additional recommendation. I think it's a nice article. I'll let you also check what Karen has shared with the group. I think it can be very interesting and useful also resources. We have two more questions. During a clinical study, what challenges patient contributors usually face in terms of PPI? I don't know, Larissa or maybe Marie also, yeah, could answer on this.
I mean, it's a good question. It's a very broad question, right?
Yes.
I mean, any challenge you can think of, right? I mean, the recruiting strategy is typically something we help if we see that we are not recruiting the number of patients that it has been desired. So we provide advice on what we see could be improved, I would say, during the clinical study. But there are many other aspects, maybe someone else would like to comment as well.
No. Yeah, no one. But we have it. So but thank you. I think it was maybe the question needs some refinement so that we can also address it more carefully. There is also a final question, and then we move on with the last presentation. Can you give example of some of the permissible use of the pre-grant protocol prep phase up to 5,000? What are the most successful uses of this funding to find the right PPI contributors? Caroline, do you have a hint on this? Or maybe
I
also
mean,
Cindy or Sandra?
the funding is not supposed to find PPI contributors,
Yeah.
but rather to compensate them for participating in the study protocol preparation, for example, and to compensate, not only to compensate travel costs, for example, but also to compensate their time and their work that they are doing for your project, let's say. The PPI preparatory grant is especially not thought to pay salaries, for example, of researchers that are designing these meetings with the PPI representatives. I think that is a common misunderstanding that we see on the SNSF side. So it's really thought to compensate the patients for their work or to pay for meeting locations, etc., but not to pay salaries of researchers.
Thank you. I think it's a very good point to emphasize.
Yeah, so my name is Sandra Kohlmeier, and I'm a scientific officer in training and education at the DKF in Basel, so the Department of Clinical Research as well. I'm project lead for PPI there. And I'm very happy and thank you very much for having me here today and giving me the possibility to talk about these two last topics of the session today, which is going a little bit even more in depth regarding the PPI and the ICT call, and as well giving you some ideas regarding the CRC, so the Clinical Research Center Support, or as the SNF is calling them, the CTUs, the clinical trial units. So don't be confused, it's the same. So this is the agenda of my talk. So we'll have a few things regarding process and timelines, but I heard a lot of it already. So we will just add the things that are maybe still helpful for you in addition. Then we will go to the requirements, and in the end, we will have a look at the support you can get from your local CRC or CTU. But before I start, I think we will make like a little interactive thing for you as well. So a question for you, because I would like to know how is your experience with the SNF IICT call? And so do you have already experience? Have you maybe already submitted a proposal or a preparatory grant or a letter of intent before? Yes or no? So this is now a question for you. Thanks for answering. So I don't see how many people and now it's okay. That's very good, because so I hope you will get some insights because most of you have no experience with the IICT call, and that's actually perfect. You're the perfect target participant of today. And maybe the others who have already experienced, maybe they still have some new insights. from our session today. So thank you very much. So I think here you have learned already a lot. Keep these deadlines in mind. So it's May 26th, which is your deadline now. And if you are not sure whether your project fits into the IICT call or not, so I really recommend that you check the IICT call checklist and what is clear. And I think after all these talks is clear to you now as well, is that IICT call without PPI, no way. So patients are important in this call, and you should take the PPI really in consideration for your project. And just very briefly, if you don't have if you have no application done yet, you need a My SNF account, and make sure that you have started getting this account at least, I would say, a few days or 1 week before the deadline of this application, of the submission of the letter of intent or preparatory grant, because it needs some time maybe to get the My SNF account for you. Yeah. So PPI in the SNF IICT call, I think it was already said before, but just like a little reminder, it is very important, PPI in the letter of intent, and in addition, of course, for the PPI preparatory grant, then in the proposal, and as well, potentially in the evaluation report you will get, and for the rebuttal letter that you might have to address. So just a little reminder, if you will not remember anything else, I would be already happy. PPI is important for each clinical research project and for the entire one, during the entire one. So, and the best is if you start early. The earlier, the better, because your project will benefit most. And what kind of activities is very dependent on the research project. This we have heard before as well. So that's why I'm very, very happy that the SNF gives you the possibility to apply for a PPI preparatory grant. So because this is the most important phase of your project, one of the most important phases, the planning phase. So in order to give the possibility to you to integrate PPI in this preparatory phase and develop and plan the project. And as said, you get a max of 5,000 francs. And as said before, it's not for your own or for the study team. It's really to compensate the PPI representatives for their time, travel cost, accommodation, maybe meals, whatever. And it's also for the organization of the meeting, for example, the room costs but no study team salary, as heard before. It is only for the planning phase, as said before, and I think this I can skip. Maybe this might be important for you. There is also a template from the SNSF available for the letter of commitment for your PPI representative, so you don't have to write it yourself. You can, but there is a template available, and also other templates like the agreement for the PPI contributors. After the PPI preparatory grant, you also need a financial report to submit to the SNSF after the ending of the funding period, and this needs also to be approved by the SNSF. So what are the requirements? So we start with the letter of intent and the preparatory grant. And this you have seen before. Now we will fill it. So what actually do you have to fill in this table of the patient engagement plan? So you have these activities that you have to give, and please be detailed, not just write PPI activity, but be detailed. And I will give you an example soon. So each separately each activity, and please also the number of PPI contributors and the method you are using. So that it really also marks that you have concrete ideas and have thought about it. Also given the concrete role and task and expectations that you have for the PPI contributors and the benefit or added value that you think the PPI will give to your project. And of course, the budget. And I will give you some examples in the next one. I think this has been already said. We are now in this phase, identification of research question or study design and funding application where PPI can support your project. And I personally think it's one of the most important one. And one of the most important one is to identify the really and patient relevant research question together with PPI representatives. Other examples are here as well. You can have a look later on. And you already have heard a lot of other and more examples in the talk before. So in the proposal, you have two requirements. So in the proposal, you have to fill in this A and B part. And it looks, okay, in the A part, you first have to give in what you have done before. So in the preparatory phase of your project and for the preparatory grant, you fill in the activities. And basically, this is a little bit similar to the letter of intent. But what is new here in the proposal is that you have to also give an idea what was the influence of the PPI activity for your study. So did the PPI activity affect the preparation phase and the trial design or planning, and how? And then you have the second part. And here you have these different phases and you fill in the activities during and after your study. And what is very important is that you also think about, as said before, the reimbursement of or the remuneration of the PPI representatives is very important, and you need some budget for it. So don't forget to also have a PPI budget under the cost category patient and public involvement. And for the part B, there are some more examples. I think you can go through if there are some. I think nearly everything has been touched before. Maybe one thing not said before is that PPI, of course, can also be integrated in the data analysis part. For example, maybe part of the data safety monitoring board, one PPI representatives, for example, giving the voice and the insights of the patient regarding, for example, safety aspects. And yeah, I think with this we are already at how can the CRC support you. I think it's highly recommended from the SNSF that you use the CTO CRC support of your local CRC. And so please contact them as early as possible, if possible now, or at least soon, so that there is enough time to really give you the support that you need. And the SNSF also wants to see if the letter of support, if you integrate and involve the CRC, so you have this letter of support, and it has to be submitted with the letter of intent and the full proposal. And if you are now asking, okay, who is my local CRC? Where shall I ask? So here you have the 7 CRC network members, and I'm sure one of these will be very, very happy to help you out. I can just give you the example of the DKF in Basel. So it's just an example, and the other CTUs, CRCs, they have also they will have great support for you available. At the DKF, you can have like a consulting on all PPI questions. which activities, with whom, how you can overcome challenges, for example, recruiting PPI representatives. We also give support, for example, if you would like to have a review for the PPI documents, so in the preparation of the PPI activities, for example, the documents could be the letter of intent, or in the proposal, the PPI plan, and also for the rebuttal letter, or if you need some help for the cost estimation or something like this. We also support the implementation of the PPI activity, for example, really like being part of the PPI activities, for example, as a moderation. Then we also have network and active exchange, of course, on the national level, but also to the USB Patient Advisory Board. There's information on the DKF website regarding PPI. And what is very important, and I think was said several times before, is it's not only your education regarding PPI, which is important, it's also the education for the PPI representatives, which is important. And here I can recommend, for example, the PPI workshop that we have. It's free of charge. It's at it's in end of April. It's for researchers and patients together. And then there are two things for patients, which I could recommend. It's the online course, Patient Involvement in Medical Research, available in German, French, and Italian. It's also free of charge. And there it could be a possibility to give some, or to have some basic knowledge regarding PPI for patient representatives or future patient representatives. And in case there are patients who would like to go in direction patient experts, in Switzerland, there's the EUPATI Switzerland Patient Expert Training. And the registration is still open for the 26 course. So yeah, there are 2 cohorts already went through this training of patient experts. So there are around 40 Swiss patient experts already available in Switzerland and contactable in case you need these experts. Yeah, I think with this, I just want to give some more examples of support, because the research question is very important, and literature search in the beginning is very helpful, not only PPI, but also to see what is already, which questions are already about to be answered. And here we have a guide for the literature search to make it as easy as possible. And then if it really goes to the submission, so it is clear that you have a research question which is not already to be answered, then if you have this key points plan where you can see the overview on the milestones that you have to fulfill or that might come up during the whole submission process for the SNF IICT call. And there are more details here, more information, other things that you have to think about. So maybe it's worth going on this plan and checking it out. It's unfortunately it's in German only. This is the only bottleneck. Okay, and with this, I think I'm already through. Time is it? I think nearly in
Perfect
time.
time. No, perfect timing.
Yeah. So if there are questions from the participants, we can go through, or, yeah, there's already questions to you. Yeah. So I thought it would be also interesting to know from you, do you think PPI activities are helpful for your clinical research project? I hope after these presentations, yeah, we'll see. And then another maybe provocative question. Would you integrate PPI into your research project if it were not required for the SNF IICT call? Very, very interesting what you will answer, at least for me. So You'll see the answers as soon as you have. Okay, wow, this is great, I think. Do you think PPI activities are helpful for your clinical research project? Yes, 100%. So yeah, this makes me really happy. I think the presentations before were so excellent that you are really convinced now. Great. And the second, yeah, that's not so clear. So, but at least 58% say, yeah, okay, I would also integrate it without being a requirement for the ICT call, which is, I think, also a very good number. Thank you very much for this information and doing the polls. So are there some questions left?
I don't see anything in the chat, but as said, feel free to reach out to the speakers of today or to us, and we can also go back to the speakers if it's a very specific question as well. I really would like to take the opportunity to thank all our speakers for giving us so much insights into this PPI, the PPI aspect of the ICT call. Thanks a lot. Hope it was useful for the participants. Thanks for the participants as well for the interactivity.